Evening, everyone. We're going to be doing a advanced review on HIMS stock symbol from November 6th, 2024. Before we start, we must provide a disclaimer that the following information provided is not investment advice. Our methods, teaching, and content are for educational purposes only. All materials and lessons are protected assets of Market Making Strategies LLC. Any plagiarism or sharing of our content is strictly prohibited, and any violators are subject to applicable laws. Now, so HIMS was a trade from this morning, literally same day. So this trade was actually a really nice trade. Just to give you a bit of understanding of this, but I'll tell you what we'll do. In fact, instead of me talking even about an overview, let's have someone go through this and they can tell me what strategies they're seeing, how those strategies are slowly coming into fruition, and what they would need to see in order to find a trade in this stock. So who wants to give this an attempt? And I will be critiquing, because this is actually not a hard stock at all, but there's some finer points that I'd certainly like to make. So who would like to talk? And I will be critiquing you.
I'm
Miller.
happy to do it, but I'd like to see if someone else would be interested.
Yeah, I tell you what, we're going to do Millen today. Millen,
Let's do it.
nice one. Okay, so you just play it, do it at your pace, and given that you do have controls over the screen, if at any moment you need to pause this, you're going to have to do it, okay?
Okay.
So we go with your speed, but we're going to now do this session. Let's complete the session in 45 minutes so we can have 15 minutes to talk. Play.
Okay, so here we're at open. We have HIMS. Seen 22 ask. Just getting a gauge of print personality right now. It's about 4 print personality.
No.
This 22 is.
No, it's not for print personality. You're just assuming now and making things up. First things first, you're not even talking about what type of strategy you're seeing. You're just jumping to print personality, and it is not a 4 print personality. It's a clear 2 to 3 print personality, isn't it? 22 is a major level. You got major prints, and those were about 8. Where did you get your 4 print personality? Where did you get that?
I just saw those as a bigger prints and kind of took like a quick average.
Where did you see 4 prints? You can't make things up when you're trading, because what happens when you make things up?
Well, then you're not even on the right track.
Of course not. You're gambling, you're hoping, you're praying, you're just creating what makes sense to you. Does that ever equal a high percentage trade?
No.
No, it's not going to give you nothing. First thing you need to establish is what strategy is being used. Number 2 you want to see is after the 22 ask, you could see it was a 2 to 3 print personality, and it showed it was a money flow of a lot of buying. So we already have a very, very lack of sell. So what is already starting to come into our minds of a possible strategy of this?
I'll already be thinking of an exceptional buy strategy first, and then I'd be thinking if this is going to exceptionally build.
Stop over talking. Don't over talk. Remember, I told you, calm down, Millen. Keep it simple. Is there anything here that said exceptional? Has it said exceptional to you yet?
Not yet, no.
So why are you bringing in words that don't exist? Because what does exceptional buying look like? Or building?
It looks like buying long above print personality.
No. What would the money flow be in exceptional buying?
It'd be like 80% buying.
Yeah, it would literally just be all prints moving in the same direction, right? One job, one task, acquire everything. Have you seen that?
No.
I'm not saying it's not going to come, but I'm saying, have you seen it now?
No, I've not seen it, no.
Well, what do you know? If you had to say, I got variables and strong variables for me to keep looking at this stock and create possibilities. What do we have currently? Press
Currently
pause.
we have
Press pause. Don't let it
currently
run.
we have currently we have prints at 22 and some buying above 22,
Uh,
and we're
uh, 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 uh. How many prints were at 22?
8 prints,
And what was the print personality above in short term?
2 to 3.
What's the significance of that?
That there's shorter term positions or buying above a controlling level.
True, which I agree. But were those shorter term large enough to carry the 22 without pulling back?
No,
Why didn't you mention that? You see how
I didn't. Yeah, I didn't interpret
hold on,
that
hold on,
properly.
Midland, slow down. I can't teach you if you just want to keep on going and speaking. Calm down for a minute. Just breathe a bit. We're in teaching moment. You're better off listening to me on these moments so that we do not repeat these mistakes too often, okay?
Okay.
So what happens is one thing right now that I'm noticing in your voice, and you're probably doing that in your trades, you're just rushing. You're rushing to do what? To say information and hope it sticks. Isn't that what it sounds like?
Yes.
Because the information that you've said so far would have put you on a wrong trajectory, because I haven't seen what you just said. Now, if you saw that the 22 was 8 prints and you saw the short term was 2 prints, it was technically 2 prints, even though you cannot say 2 print personality. You are narrowing down your possibilities. You're making it so narrow. By saying 2 to 3, you give yourself some leeway, a bit of grace in the way you're trading, because it's acceptable. So let's just say 2 to 3 print personality. If the 2 to 3 print personality is in no way going to carry the size of the control at 22, what should you expect straight away will start coming down with that? And what do you expect would start coming down with that type of print personality above such big controlling prints?
I think you're trying to say that the volume would come down because those
Well,
prints
not me
wouldn't carry.
saying it, I'm asking you a question. What comes
Hmm.
down? Obviously, if I say it, then I'm just going to talk on the stock, aren't I?
Right.
So that's the question posed to you. So let me just explain that. Let me just take this. I think you're going to find some confusion here. 22 was 8 controlling prints. It was nice volume, I agree, really nice volume. In fact, if our option was, and if it was what you thought it was, exceptional buy, the print personality of the controlling prints would be the same as would be very similar to shorter term. The controlling at 22 would participate in the exceptional build, not take control of the stock. When it did, so that would mean it would be like a 5 to 6 print personality maybe, and all of the short term or the other forms of buying around it would all be the same. It would basically be all buying, all massive prints, all at very different prices. It doesn't matter. They don't care. Put yourself on mute, please. They don't care. They will just purchase anything and everything they see because they have a greater plan for the stock. In that bar, you did not see that. You had the volume, but you saw controlling prints. And how do we know that? Because the short term was above it, not buying, not acquiring, not building. Those were short-term prints. They sat themselves there in the hope of making some short-term money because it was only a 2 to 3 print personality as opposed to the controlling prints, which were 8. So we know that to a very high percentage, number 22 said to you that there's no way such small short-term prints are going to carry me to my target. This is not going to be an exception. We are going to need to pull back. and I need to build a bit more, and I'll show you some more clarity as the minutes go on. So with that being said, the first thing we can expect is that the waning of volume. You need, in that circumstance, you're definitely looking to see waning of volume and coming into either a flag or a valley, because we know it needs to pull under 22. But with not much sell being shown, it doesn't say that we need to pull under too much, which would also say that in the valley we're still going to have relatively high volume so they can do their work relatively quick. Does that make sense? Does that make sense?
It does.
Yeah, that does.
All right, come on, Milan. Stay on top of this, please. All right, go
No, I'm
on.
here. I just have to toggle between the mic and going back to the YouTube because I'm sharing the screen.
Okay, well, just keep yourself off mute then, and then press play and then carry on. Can you 2x the speed or something like that, Milan? Or is it not possible?
Hey, Doug, can I ask a question here?
Yeah, of course you can.
So the 22s came in kind of two bursts. One was a 6
Doesn't
aspirin
matter.
burst.
Doesn't matter.
Yeah, that was going to my question is, does
And
it
it wasn't two
matter?
bursts. It wasn't two bursts. It was still part of the same execution.
Okay, so you treat them as one execution as one. Okay, gotcha. Okay, thank you.
Milan, don't stop the play. We've got to keep mindful of the time as well now.
So knowing those 22 asks, price target would be, I'd be thinking of 22.50.
Do you think prints of that size would be 22.50? What's the increments in this stock, man?
20 cents,
What was the short-term print personality?
2 to 3.
What was the size of 22?
22 is 8 prints.
So what's the realistically speaking, why would somebody put so much buying at 22, pull under to build, keep adding at 22 for only 50 cents? Does that make sense?
No, that doesn't make sense.
That does or it does not?
Does not make sense.
So what do you think is your conservative or just your price target for what you've seen?
23.
Absolutely. Already you had a big prints of 22, you had 2 prints of 22, you had 3 prints of 22, and this is all in a building phase. Do you think they're going to do all that work just to have the ability to move to 50 cents in one bar? How would they get out? Is that even worth their bother to do that?
No.
Exactly. How are you looking for an entry? What did you fail to do right now? And it's fine, you don't have to do it then, but I don't see you planning the entry. If you've already got your target, if you know it's all build, shouldn't you already be looking at what your entry should look like?
Yeah, so I'd be placed in 22, underneath 22.20, so around like 22.17 to 22.22.
You're ever going to get that? Do you think you're ever going to get that when it sneezes and goes to 22.14? How would you ever have the ability to get in and get enough information and validation in volume and in prints and in supporting alignment if necessary to get what you need to execute on a high percentage entry if you're not even going to be where that high percentage entry is going to be? It's not going to be at 217 million. Look at this right now. It's already building under 2210. How do you think you're going to catch all that in 7 cents above that?
I wouldn't.
See, what you're doing is what? Being greedy, not being smart.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm being greedy and trying to be as close to 22 to, I guess, have the safest entry or whatever.
Yeah. Now, if this came down on low volume and came down to 21.80, 20 cents below, and started some short-term buying and volume increase towards 22, would you look at that as an entry?
I would.
Would you look at 22.23 as an entry if it had enough verification leading up to it?
Yes.
Would you be mindful that 22.20, the number 20, many times plays a role in stocks? Would you be mindful of that? Would you be mindful that 22.10 was in fact the strongest level, not even 22 where you saw the buying? Did you notice that?
No, I didn't.
Do you see how intricate this can get?
Very, very intricate.
Do you know this is exactly what goes on in my mind when I'm trading? But here's the reality. Obviously, all that information's now in my head. So it's a lot easier to sort through, and it's kind of muscle memory at this point, right?
Yes.
So press pause. Now, with what I've said, what do you think you could take at your level, which would still give you a high percentage plan for your strategy without having to add all of the other fluff that I did? And I only add that just because I can add certain variables that could be used in certain ways that you don't know yet. But what would you add? What do you think is enough for you to get a high percentage entry and create and have a high percentage trade out of this? What do you think are the main points for you?
Okay. So just from the beginning, right? It's interpreting those controlling prints, knowing that there are eight prints, and then the reaction buy above was 2 to 3 prints and clearly not enough to
Carry it.
move that 22 to carry it to, the next kind of increment. Um, and then knowing that the 22s would have to pull back, paying attention to volume. Um, if volume's relatively high, decent, consistent, you know that the building phase could be accomplished in a quicker time frame. And if there's no sell, that's
Yep.
great
But
as well.
so hold on one second. So I agree with you. You're on point on a lot of those things. Now, just a few things. What else did I tell you you cannot say with the way that one bar executed with the 22 ask and the 2 to 3 print short term personality? Because what did we call it? Short term. Would short term be the term that you use for those if it was exceptional buying? Would that term really even be used when we speak on exceptional buying? And tell me yes or no, and I'll explain this to you. It's not a problem if you're not sure.
I'll give a crack at it though.
Go, of
Um,
course.
so within that exceptional buying wouldn't be, I guess you're saying characterized as shorter term, is because I mean they can meet targets sooner, but they're still buying. It's not really shorter
That's it.
term market
That's
ranges.
exactly your answer. You don't need to speak no more than that. As I always tell you, lot, the simpler you get to, the quicker and easier your mind can manage the trade. So that's it. The reality is, how can it be short term and exceptional buying? Short term means we're getting to a target. Exceptional buying means we don't give a shit about the target today. We just want to acquire as many shares as we can. Target is not part of the strategy today. Target is days, weeks, or months away. We just love the company and we need as many shares as we can get. We're not here for a quick turnaround and a quick profit. We're making a huge investment. Is that a different investment thesis for a trade desk?
Yes.
Okay. So when you know that's the case, it already is telling you be very mindful about what strategy you want to place here or whatever you want to title it. Again, I'm not saying, as we will see, that it's not that it couldn't happen. There's not one thing at all we've seen so far that has said any type of exceptional buy. The only thing it has said is we have a very solid target for 22 and its short-term friends who agree to reach. Correct?
Correct.
All right, carry on. So that's perfect. Now we
Mhm.
want to talk. What else would you want to know?
Well, I had one question. So I know that when it is an exceptional buy and or exceptional build strategy, they're not going to a target because they're not releasing. But how would you kind of explain that in a way that they're going to the next level to continue that building?
Good question. So even within exceptional buying, have you ever noticed that you do have moments of exceptional bars with exceptional, even higher print personality, which would in an exceptional buying situation, that would be the let's say trigger to the next price or the next area. So usually in exceptional buying, you're going to see volume phases. Sometimes you don't. Sometimes you just see absolutely strong volume throughout consistently. But have you noticed that even in exceptional buying, one of the major patterns of movement is then having higher volume patterns? Do you see what I'm saying? And
Yeah,
in the
it's it.
higher volume patterns, you're going to see higher print personality. And in an exceptional buying situation, lots of high consistent volume with clearly identified money flow, which I'm going to tell you is 85 to 90% buying. The only time that will come to an end is when they have completed their task, which will be shown by a waning of volume, because that means they are starting to complete their task. Volume is, as I say, like petrol to a car. It's what moves the car. So if the car is slowing down, that's because the petrol is now coming to an end, which also means volume is now slowing down. That's how you'll know the difference. So as long as that volume's ticking, the substance within the bars, or overall to speak on it, just to make it easier, the money flow is still within the same strategy, still doing the same. Their work is still going on. It's not completed. The key to it all is the money flow and the volume. Volume is so key in exceptional buying. Your volume comes off, I don't care what you see. You have to start looking to manage your position. Simple as that. Okay?
Okay.
Keep going. What else? So if you've got 22, this is not exceptional buying. This is more of a textbook. You're seeing the controlling prints. You're seeing that it built at the level 3 times. You're seeing that it has some short-term carry above. So once the volume kicks back in, they're getting ready for that. You are seeing that the sell is predominantly used to bring it back to build. So the sell is used to bring the stock down to build more. So the sell has a job in this phase. So if volume kicks back in and we have an alignment of prints, would that be your go?
Yes, it would be.
Where would you like to see that? And why would you say that's where you want to see it? I need to know why you chose those certain areas.
So, first for that proper release, I'd like volume to start coming. Well, we're at 2180 right now, so volume would start waxing back in, and then I want volume to be around 250 above 22.
Yep, agreed.
Because that's what the release would be, and I want to see the alignment like you said, and no sell.
Let me ask you a question before you stop there for a second. Why do we want to see 250? Why not 150? Why not 200? Why not 300? Did you just make up a number? Are you looking across the volume to give you your understanding of what a high volume bar looks like? Or is there more to it?
Yeah, so recently I've just been paying more attention to the volume. So what I've seen before is the volume bar was around 350, and that's what got it moving. And then after we got the controlling prints, it's like a build kind of volume. Where it's around 140 right now. So I'd be thinking for a release, I need it to be at least around 250.
All right, so that's the perfect answer. And that's what I was looking for you to say is that's the volume I saw that got it moving. That is all I needed to hear. So well done. That was exactly the answer I'm looking for. I'm going to take it one step further for you. in that bar that got it moving, what did we see? 22 at 8 prints, and then we saw the 2 to 3 prints 2 or 3 times. Yes?
Yes.
And that's how many, what was that volume bar? Let's just make a number, 350, right?
Right.
If the next release bar was hit a high, so the main substance bar into 23 was 600,000. Do you think you'll have a higher print personality within that particular substance bar as you would 350,000 one?
Yes, it would be a higher print personality.
Why?
Because if it was able to move with less, that means, that within that bar there wasn't, let's say I'm assuming there wasn't as much buying within that. So the print personality would be smaller compared to a 600,000 bar and moving kind
Basic.
of.
No. Stop. I'm going to teach you lot. The way you speak is the key to how greatly and how smoothly you will trade. Do not over speak. You got to start training your mind to accept information that's needed as quickly as possible to not then get in the way of clean management protocols. So say it, just say the essence of what needs to be told. Don't give a story behind it.
Okay.
So talk to me about that bar, talk to me about the next bar, and talk to me how that next phase of that next bar looks. Are you
Okay. So
confused?
your question kind of confused me towards the end.
All right, let me just explain that. So 350,000 had 8 prints at 22 and a 223 print personality, which basically means within that volume, that's what we can see is the standard of substance, the standard of take, the standard of what controlling prints and short-term prints would look like within that type of volume bar. If we double that volume bar, let's say 700,000, they can now take more. They have access to more volume, the ability to take more shares. Now, who controls the orders? Who
EMMs,
controls
yeah.
the orders? Come on, let's go quick. You guys know this answer. There should be no stuttering at all. Who
The market
controls
makers.
the orders? So the volume is there. Who can add more to the orders to take more?
The market makers.
Who are they taking from?
In this case, they're taking from retail.
Who are they taking from in the orders? Even the orders are retail, but could that be retail that has accounts with the same broker?
Yes.
Yeah, yes or no? We gotta
Yes.
have. It's either I don't know or yes. I want to hear it
Yes.
so strong, and I tell you why. Again, I'm teaching you all the time psychology. If you're not sure, your trading is not sure. If you're not sure, your management's gone. Make sense?
Makes sense.
It's that simple. I can tell you right now, at the level that I can trade or that I trade, it's nothing more than fluidity and simplicity. That's it. Literally it. The hardest part, if you like to speak on things too much and really define them to a further extent, that's a big hindrance as a trader. So that's one of the first controls that you have to see. One of the first areas that you have to work on. Understand?
Understood.
Do we know someone in this room who had that problem?
Yes.
Who?
I don't want to name him.
This is my company. This is going to go the way we want it to go. You know why? Because prints don't lie and prints don't hide. So we should never hide from the areas that we're going to strengthen. Because when you look back on those areas that you have strengthened, you're going to be proud of that moment and your outcome will make you even prouder. I sit here for years and tell you all of my mistakes. And why do I proudly wear it on my sleeve? Because I had the courage to face those areas of weakness and recognize that once I strengthen those areas, I will be a stronger, not only trader, but person. Do you agree to that? Does that statement make you more confident in speaking on your weaknesses?
Definitely.
So David A, when he first started, and especially when he started coming into my night reviews, he was picking up on all the concepts well, still picking up on the concepts. He's improved vastly. But one of the major hindrances that I always told him is he just has the canny ability to really break things down well. And that serves a great purpose in business, in life, in conversations. It is essential, but it's not good for you as a trader. It's wonderful when you're analyzing your reviews, analyzing a stock, having to explain how something would work. But it is probably the largest hindrance to you having a clean management mindset. Would you agree, David A?
I do, mate.
See that, Millen? He had no problem coming on and saying that, right? Because guess why? Was it frustrating when that was your weakness? Or is it a joy now that it's no longer and it's slowly becoming a strength?
Yeah, it's almost a rite of passage.
There you go. I was waiting for that line. I was like, this is what you call a rite of passage into the next level. I say this in all facets of my life, and I'm speaking to all of you who are listening to this. Find your weaknesses as quick as possible, because the sooner you fix them, the quicker you progress. Write that down. That is honest advice from someone in their 40s. And David A can attest that if we just knew our weaknesses when we were younger, we would have got to where we wanted a lot quicker. True, David?
Absolutely.
So be mindful. The one thing and beauty that you all will love now, especially for those who are soon to be attending, new to attending, is I teach a lot of psychology as a trader. And psychology to me is not only going to help you become such a great trader, but it's going to help you in life. And if we can parlay what we do here into life and it all can coexist and help each other, then you know what? The outcome's even better than we expected. So, Millen, play this one again. Let's just keep going. Go on. 2x it and go with it, and then we're just going to talk through it.
Okay, so on that pullback below 22, if volume's consistent and we get shorter term prints, 2 to 3 print personality, I'd be playing an entry below 22. In the case that the volume doesn't come in until above 22, have another order set at 22, 23. Be looking for volume, like I said before, waxing in at 250,000 and substance.
Okay. Hold on 1 second. This volume is at its lowest point basically now, right?
Right.
Come on, answer quick. You got to be a bit quicker than that. This volume is at its lowest point and you're looking for a release. Is there any way you would have got in at 22.17 or anywhere above under 22, knowing that where it was sitting at the point of volume coming in was right under 22? Would that have been a possibility for you?
No, that would not have been a possibility.
What's the other problem right now? What did it do with that volume?
It printed again, 8 prints at 22.
What's that saying to you right now about your target? Do we update our target as the prints increase at a certain level? Yes or no?
Yes, we do.
Should that be automatic or should that be something that we could think about later?
No, it should be automatic.
So where are we?
So right now we're at 24.
Are we?
Yes.
Are you textbooking? David A, where do you think we are?
The conservative is 23, but realistically probably about 23.50.
No, nowhere near it. Anyone else?
25.
Aha. I would be a destination of 25, conservative build 23.50. Now we're getting a bit more elite. I did say this is advanced. Why did I say 2350 as an area of more build? I'm going to get really advanced than some of you. I did say this in an advanced class. 22 has now done prints sizable twice, but relative 2 or 3 other times within this build phase. The selling has been simply used for them to build. They're building between 22.10 and 21.70. So let's just say in a 50-cent area. The size of the buying is huge. Right now, you're seeing 20-cent increments. But here's the reality. Are these bars 20-cent increments?
No.
Definitely not. I was going to ask if there's a transition in the increment here, but yeah, you're right.
Hey,
That's
there
they're
you
past 50-cent increments.
There you go. It's literally telling you that when we move, clearly you're going to see a transition of larger increments. If those transition of larger increments come and become 50 cent, now all of that 22 by itself, do you guys give that 25 and 50-cent increments?
Yes.
Makes a lot more sense. And I
Now,
would also then give more room for my limit order too, given the size
okay,
of those bars.
hold on. Let us just complete that thought. So, what's the chance that a stock goes all the way in one phase for a high percentage in one money time move or one target move 225 from where it is now? How many times do you see them just take it and trade it straight to a target $3 away? I'm not saying they don't, but how many times does that happen just like that?
Very
Not
rare.
often.
So what is a smart thing to do between 22 and 25?
They're
It
going
would,
to stagger the build
Time.
and release phase.
and what's the easiest number to think when you think of $3?
Oh, it's smack bang in the middle, 2350.
It would be the most efficient way before you get to 25, right?
Yep.
Okay, let's see what it does. Carry on, man. Tell me your entry, please. How your exit, how your entry is going to look.
Yeah, so my entries placed at 22, 23.
Any concerns, or there should be a concern for you.
Yeah, the concern was the 22s that this might need to
Brilliant.
pull back.
But what gives ease to concern? Isn't that what we need to always know? Is what is the ease to concern? What is the option?
Is that we have the prints to carry it above and the volume to carry it above.
Yeah. So basically, that means you need to see absolute clarity. Can you see any less in prints and volume that you would need at this point?
No, it looks clear.
No, you're not listening to what I'm saying. For it to release through this build phase, can it show any lack or less of what is required when we consider the strength of 22?
No, it's got to be abundantly clear.
Does it kind of look like what you're seeing in front of you?
Yeah, that's abundantly clear.
Why?
Because we're getting alignment above print personality above 22, and the
What
volume's
else?
waxing.
What else is that starting to tell you?
This is starting to look like an exceptional buy.
Ah, where are you holding this to? This is a good question. Don't answer too quickly. Where are you holding this to? Meaning in, where's your risk factor in this trade?
Till 2180.
Oof. Do you think it's 2180? What's the problem with you saying 2180? Do you really want to hold a stock for a 40-cent loss?
No.
No, because you can do what?
I can get out and get back in when the substance is substantive volume is right.
Is holding a stock for $1.50 for 40-cent loss a smart move?
No, not at all.
Is that being a well-conditioned, disciplined trader?
No, that's not.
Okay. So if that wasn't the entry, you get out. But was there anything in that entry that leads you to believe that the next one will be a higher percentage and less likely to not work out?
Yeah, that substance told me the next one will be higher percentage.
So why didn't it work out? Why didn't
Because
it
that
work?
was like a take.
Good boy. That's a take bar. Do you remember me actually saying that in the chat?
Looking to the left.
Did I say it in the chat? Or was I trading it instead of saying it? Okay, wait on there. But basically, when I saw that in the morning, that was a clear take bar. What's the problem? So when you see a take bar, is that usually the go bar?
No.
But is that telling you there's going to be, to a high percentage, a go bar soon?
Yes.
Because what is a take bar? I told you guys what take bar is. I introduced a take bar. But what is a take bar? I've told you quite a few times. Tell me what a take bar is.
Last minute
There's.
grab.
Uh, 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 just one at a time. One at a time. Come on.
Go ahead, David.
Last minute grab by the market maker.
Why do they want a last minute grab?
They're getting close to their full size. And
Why
maybe
don't
they're running out of time.
they just want a lot of shares and they want them now?
Yep.
That's all it is. So if that was a take bar and as it's supposed to, it wasn't a go bar, what do you want to see, Millen?
I wouldn't want to see sell.
Well, you can't plan that, can you? Once you're in, you see what you see. So you got to make sure that what you follow has a higher percentage of releasing than you seeing sell. What about this one? What about 2212? What does that look like to you? And by the way, are those 22 bids or is that all one big executional buy?
It's one big execution to buy.
How do you know that?
It's above the ask.
How do you know that?
Timestamp.
Timestamp, Milan. You mean above the ask? What does that mean? What does that mean?
That means I want it now.
But where did that apply to 2212? That wasn't even in yellow. It's in green. Where is your ask? Above 22, the yellows. I didn't see that here. But what did you see non-stop happening after the take bar?
More buying.
But what type of buying is it looking like now?
Oh, that was off level buying, so shorter term.
Mm-hmm. Are you seeing yourself?
Not seeing any sell.
Why didn't you want to enter with that? That's where I
Because I
entered.
didn't. Because I didn't plan it.
Oh, that's the problem. You didn't plan what it looks like. You didn't plan what you need to see. Didn't we establish that take bars in that situation at the height of the build phase, especially with what we've seen in substance, don't we know in that particular situation that a take bar is basically, like David A said, signaling the time is coming soon? And I told you it's coming soon. So it's just, what does it need to look like to validate that it's not another take bar and it's a release bar? And what followed in after the first one? More buying in volume. Do you think you could take this trade over 2220 just to get extra validation that it is going to be just pure buying? Could you think that is a possibility when you know that you've got a 23.50 price target with the possibility of 25? Do you think you have room to wait an extra 20 cents?
You definitely do.
Aha. Didn't I tell you that last week?
Mm-hmm.
What did I call this? What's it coined? Pay for confirmation. Are we looking to get every penny out of our trade, or are we looking to get the highest percentage part of the trade?
The highest percentage part of the trade.
Do we look for the highest percentage when we start trading, or do we look to maximize how much sense we make?
We look to maximize.
Do you think in a period of a week, the trader who looks for the highest percentage part of the trade, let's say that every single trade you both took was for a dollar move, and every single time that really good trader who only cares about paying for confirmation, making sure he's getting in on a high percentage part of the play, ends up making 62 cents a trade, and you make 82 cents. So you're like, guess what? I'm making over 25% more than you're making on a trade. But then if we looked at the 10 trades he did in a week and the 10 trades you did in a week, who do you think overall has the better numbers?
The one who only takes high percentage entries and exits.
What do you think his win percentage compared to yours is going to look like?
Could be double or
And
20 to
what?
30% higher.
And if your losses are double than your wins, and your wins are 82 cents and your losses are 18 or 14 cents, in the end, he beats you hands down. Because he might get 62 cents, but if he's getting that 7 out of 10 times, and if you're getting 82 cents 3 to 4 out of 10 times, you got to consider the losses that work against your wins. So that gives you your net gain over the 10 trades. He doesn't even need one trade to take care of his losses. Big difference, isn't it?
Huge difference.
Who do you think goes into ruts more often, him or you?
The one who's getting greedy with their trading.
Who do you think has a better chance of trading all markets, you or him?
The disciplined trader. So
Uh-huh. Learning a lot today, aren't you, man?
a lot. Thank you.
Keep playing. And just keep it going now because it's already 8:20 and I want to get off in the next 10 minutes. What are we seeing? I need you to speak on it. There was something that I spoke. I don't know what is going on. Oh, okay, here we go. I start speaking on HIMS at this point. But I was trading it, so obviously I'm not going to speak because I had a nice position in this trade. But when I look at that 22, 99, and 23, what do you think, Doug? And I spoke about it later on, but what is that starting to tell me? That's telling me that when it came to a level, somebody had a preferred possibility of a preferred execution, and that could be a possibility. And I want to pay attention to that when we get to 24, because I want to see if that person is still controlling the stock. Do you think if I see him execute or her execute at 24 in a similar fashion to 23, or at least at levels in the same fashion, do I manage my position differently or not, Milan?
So if they start, uh,
Okay,
so you're saying if they,
Milan, stop. I'll carry on. So at 23, 99 and 23 was executed by one person. They took the 99s and the 23. That's a very interesting way to execute. That was very particular, a red dress in essence. The controlling market maker is showing you his face and showing you how he's going to accomplish his task. What do we do as traders, Milan, as day traders? We are followers. So in order to follow, you must know what's happening in front of you, which also means when you're managing your trade, you want to see how he's managing his trade because you're
yes,
following his trade. So if he's doing that at 23 and it gets to 24 and the volume is where it needs to be, so we're not even worried about the volume, and you see that the execution is in a similar method or a similar pattern, how would you manage your trade if you're in full position? Are you getting out 20, 40, 60%? Or are you doing something
No,
different?
no, you could maximize at that point.
Speak on it. You saying
So,
maximize does not mean that I'm happy that you've understood it correctly.
okay, so there'd be a possibility to add within this if this strategy
No,
is continuing.
I'm not talking about ad. I'm talking to you as a novice trader, not as an advanced trader. You are not in ad stage yet. We are here learning. Earning is you have to earn the earning stage. So speak on your position that you got into above 22. We're going to say 22.28 was your entry. We saw what happened at 23. Now, what has happened leading up to 23 from 22? What type of strategy have you seen being used?
First it was just more of a textbook kind of strategy.
Now, was it a textbook strategy or was it a build strategy in the first phase?
It was a build strategy in the first phase.
What's actually happening in the second phase of this strategy? What does it look like more?
Now it's looking more like an exceptional build strategy.
Brilliant. So an exceptional build in this phase two. So if there's an exceptional build leading from 22 up to 23, are we okay if 23 executes, buying comes above 23, the volume sustains, exceptional buying comes, goes to 24, 99 and 24 execute, buying above? Is there anything we need to do at this stage?
No, there's nothing we need to do.
What's the only thing you got to keep an eye on that's so key the further you get away from the build and the
Volume.
closer you get to the target? Volume. So press play, keep going. What's the number that I said would make sense for them to use in the interim?
You said the 20.
No, what?
Oh, 2350.
Make sure you get some good sleep tonight, man. Did it even hit 2350?
No, and volume's waning.
Does it have the buying for 2350?
Yes.
You sure?
Yeah, positive.
That's what I like to hear. I don't want to hear, yeah, no. 100% it does. Why? Who told you that?
22.
Who else told you that?
22.99, 23.
It was everything told you that, right? What did I say? Look at the bottom left, 1003. What does it say?
Same type of execution.
All right, speed it up a little bit more, Millen. I've got to cut this off at 8:30. Has 25 price target written all over it. This has been a bit clean and easy. Okay, that's just me speaking. I don't see this within the same phase going to 25. It wouldn't make sense. But they're also simply buildings. They're not bothered as much. If it caps and builds 23.50, then the calculated move would be 25. But we got to close to 24. And is the 2350 in play? Is the
Yes.
2350 in play?
Yes.
Absolutely. But do you think the buying's for 25, or you're still fine with 2380? Or are you, it was the overall target would be 25 for you?
Overall target is 25.
Why is that? What are they doing, Milan? In essence, what are they still doing since 22?
They're still buying everything.
They're doing what?
They're buying.
Ah, is that the term?
They're building.
Building. Big difference. Are they using 2350, like I said?
Yes, they are.
Is that me talking to you after the fact? Or are you seeing it on the left that I'm telling you as it's going on?
As it's going on.
Big difference. The prints lead you to what the story being told is going to be. The prints is like getting the conclusion to a book as the introduction. Think about that one.
Quick question for you, Doug, if you don't mind.
I don't know. Maybe I will mind.
Okay. Well, I'll ask you, and then you can push back. Would you
Of
mind
course.
quickly commenting on maximizing the trade?
I'm not going to on this one. And the reason is Millen had a lot of learning to do on this trade,
Sure.
as I'm sure a lot of you lot did. I can't take it to another stage if you haven't got the current stage.
No problem.
Because you guys are going to try to maximize when you can't even, when you're not at the stage of having a smooth trade just in the basic level. Until you have read the trade, like I just read it, you shouldn't even be thinking about maximizing. Or at least have enough to have put together an 85% trade. Maximizing isn't for you because you're not going to understand how to maximize it if you can't just trade it in the basic format. So unless you read it like that, then absolutely you're going to maximize. Do you think I did?
Of course you did.
Where do you think I got in? Where do you think I added?
When when we transitioned briefly to that build from the exception build to build and then back into that release. So as
Okay,
it pushed back up again above 2350.
correct. That's where I did.
Yep. Yep.
Doug, I have one last question.
Yeah, go for it.
So, how do you kind of like start journaling like these kinds of trades? Like, I know for me now, like kind of my journals have shifted to more of, keeping it simple, like
Mhm.
isolating, the keys of the elements of the beginning of the trade, and then talking about the strategy and phases.
So
I
as
can take
you
that one, Doug, if you don't mind me stepping in on that.
no, please, David, all yours.
I
Go for
think
it.
the reality is Doug doesn't journal. He doesn't need to journal. So I don't think
Mhm.
he's in the position to give you advice that's more from a novice perspective. I'm sure he did at one point, but he's
Right.
mastered this to the point where he doesn't need to journal. Him being at the computer and taking trades is his journal, and that's his
Yeah,
starting
for
point.
sure. Hmm.
I provided you all with, and I'll post it again in obviously our new community, but a journal that you can um, fill out. But essentially, you need to really focus on the prints and creating a game plan from those prints. And from there, you add them up. Obviously, print 60%, etc. And it's all outlined in the value or the journal, so it's all clear black and white there in terms of percentages wise. But I think the ultimate thing is there's a disconnect between what you're thinking at the moment at your computer and then when you sit back and watch it and you're journaling, right? That's the biggest thing with journaling is, in the moment you have to capture what your thought processes were, what your comments were, and exactly what you were thinking of in terms of breaking the trade down. Because you can always go back and watch it multiple times and then properly journal it. But it's in that moment where you need to capture the most vital information about your own
Mhm.
thought process. And I can provide you a pretty easy, blank, quick fill out journal for you to fill out. But ultimately, I don't think Doug sits there and journals anymore because he doesn't need to.
Yeah, to be honest with you, David's spot on with what you just said, Millen. So I don't journal. I did for years when I first started. I don't journal now. Now what happens is all the journaling I did got curated into a muscle memory, into a mind flow, into a flow state of mind for trading. So what happens is now, as new information comes to me, think about this. It unlocks a new level. So I am opening up this mental chart of how this stock will look as new information is provided to me. So when I saw this execution of 99 and 23, 99 and 23.50, 99 and 24, it's unlocking new potential. So what I end up doing is think about gridding, placing a grid in your head and saying, right, 24, now what does 24 to 25 look like? I say this to you guys all the time. You cannot plan or follow if you don't know what it looks like next. Then how are you going to do that? Because they're giving you the prints and they're showing you how they're playing and using the prints. But is anybody calling you and saying this is what it's going to look like? Do you get that from anyone?
No.
You've got to unlock those levels. So what happens is, and very similar to what David's saying, is as you journal, and I say this to you guys so often, is how efficient is your screen time? So if I was watching this stock and I'm a novice trader, I would be glued if I saw this type of buying, this type of volume, this type of movement. And I'm gonna see when this happens, this happens. And then if I look at that 100 times, I got a percentage. If these prints work singularly in this stock as a strong number, okay, so if 2320 was a solid number and they really used it to build, I expect to see something happen at 2420, at 2520. And if there's consistency in them singularly using a certain or particular number, and I see that happen 100 times, out of 100 times, I see that happen 90 times, is that going to be considered a high percentage variable in my formula, Milan?
Yes.
So I'll tell you what it is. It's how efficient are you when you are at the screen? What are you doing with your time? Are you simply looking for the next trade? Or once the next trade is, I'm looking more for how to improve my understanding of the trade. You will never be a great trader if more percentage of your time is weighed on looking for a trade rather than learning how to make more out of that trade, how to maximize the understanding of the trade. Do you think I'm heavily skewed on finding a trade at my stage, or am I heavily skewed on what I need to adapt to next?
I mean, you're at a point where you can
David
look for your trade.
David just told you he doesn't need to journal. It's all in his head now. He's already mastered that shit. So do you think I'm worried about the trade, or am I worried more, or not worried, or am I more interested in the adaptability of me to changing climates of trading?
Your adaptability.
That's what I care about. How do you guys think you're getting all this new stuff from me all the time? And do you think I see it once and tell you lot about it? Or am I watching it over and over and over and over and over and over again, and then coming to a conclusion on the percentages and then presenting it to you, right?
Right.
How do you
For sure.
think you guys are getting these 99s and that? How do you guys think? Now, David can tell you, and I know I've used this before, this example, but David, how long did I test that exceptional buy in pre-market before I said, let's, go for it? I didn't even tell him the first time. I did this so many, months. And then I said, David, I need you to test it. Why? Because David was that trader that got to the level that I could tell him, right, go test this now. I don't need to teach shit to David. But if I have a new setup that I've been testing, I'm obviously going to say, David, here's the parameters. Here's how this trade works. This is how the setup variables work. I need you to test it. And how many times did you probably test that with low shares, David, before you said, right, he's spot on. I'm going to go in harder on these?
I mean, it took some time, but I definitely went in with low shares for a while because, in essence, it's you're expanding your field of view. I think that's the best way to describe it because, as you're learning, you have a very narrow window of what you can see, and your window becomes expanded as you see different strategies being implemented, and that's obviously one strategy that we saw over and over being implemented, and there's no if but way around it. If they implement that strategy, that's what's going to happen. It's not like they're going to implement a exceptional buy strategy and then it's just going to end up being dumped on. There's going to be all selling. It doesn't make sense from the market maker perspective. It just wouldn't happen. Maybe sure it'll happen on a blue moon, but in reality, exceptional build type of pushes like that don't translate into something being sold off just because of their risk. Everything always falls back on their risk.
Yep, exactly. And that was a good point you just made to finalize this, that in the end, we start and end with making sure that we have accepted and know every single time we trade what our risk is. And can I ask you guys another question before we end this? Can a risk averse person truly trade?
Definitely not. It's not until you completely accept the risk that you can trade effectively.
And we're going to leave it on that note. That is a good thought for all of you. Because let me tell you something that I told someone today. I've told you all multiple times. If you accepted a 75% trade, what did you also accept? That the trade could be 75%, it will work in your favor. And what is the other acceptance that you have made?
25% loss.
Don't use that word. We don't use that word. I hate that word.
So 25% where it did not go in your favor.
That's it. We don't add no negativity to our psychology. The only thing that we see negative that we use in our favor is red. And red, to most people, is a bad thing. For me, it's what are we using red within our strategy? I don't care what comes in front of me. I place it. I place it within the usage. Do you guys agree when I taught you that you need to know what sell is used for? Straight sell, sell to bring it down to acquire. Does that make looking at sell a lot easier when you place it?
Yeah, you'll never see the full picture without it. I mean, knowing when selling is shorting and knowing when selling is an actual position, if it's a long and they're selling, that's not typically shorting. There's many setups where you identify what the selling actually means. When you can actually identify that, then you're truly a follower. Because how do you know if selling is shorting? How do you know if it's selling, exiting a position and distributing? How do you know if it's selling to bring back to acquire more? It's all relative to the game plan, the market maker, and the setup. And obviously, we've been taught that, and I mean, at least me and Doug have to a high level, and I know I would love to break that down to even defined level for students as well. I know I have in the past, just with like setups. I can draw a chart and I can tell you what is buying, what's covering relative to the setup, and it'll become second nature. I think for Doug, doesn't have to think about it at points because he already knows. But for us students, you have to get to a point where you have to break it down fundamentally. Like this setup, like would selling here be shorting? No, I mean that was the reality of that. It just wouldn't make sense with an exceptional type of buy. You would be completely against all the market makers' flow and what their task is. You'd be a fool.
Yep, exactly. And I'll tell you another thing. Think about this last thing. I know we've gone over time and spot on there, David. And once we get those visuals out there and those teaching elements, that's going to be great for the students. But think about this one. Overall, are you going to be a smart hedge fund or bank if you're always looking to short stocks or the market? Overall, the answer is no.
Because historically, the stock market goes up.
Exactly, the stock market goes up. So if I want to short a stock, doesn't it make sense that I want to get a high volume rangy stock that I could say it went on a move like Nvidia from 100 to 150? Now the pullback's going to be to 130. That's a $20 gap to pull back. But in essence, it's still a pullback, but we are going to create a short position because we've got space, we've got room. So it's a short-term short position. Most stocks are not going to have somebody who's holding all the time short unless it's just a shit company. Whether the company's about to fail for whatever reason, whether there's new entrants into the market with a better concept that are going to beat out and be the new and out with the old. As I say, Blockbuster didn't see Netflix. Even though they could have bought them for $1 million, they never did. And ultimately, in 12 months of that day, Netflix was able to kick Blockbuster out, a multi-billion-dollar company. That's what you short. GameStop, that's what you short. But for the most part, a lot of these stocks, if you're a hedge fund, if you're a bank, if you're an investor, you make far more money if that company succeeds, not fails. True?
Yep.
And so you got
100%.
to think about it. So that's why you don't always see as much shorts unless it's got range or unless it's just not a good company. And then you're going to see the money flow is typically always short anyway. So on that note, it's been a long sesh. Everybody have a lovely evening and we will speak tomorrow.
Miller,